It is the final word. It's season 17. It's episode 20. A reminder that if you need a VPN, and you may, especially if you're in the USA and who knows what's happening over there, for 24 hours, if you wanted to get on TikTok, you needed to have a VPN. Now, apparently, you don't. Again, nobody can keep up with that sort of thing. But a virtual private network means that you can tell the internet that you're somewhere other than where you are, in fact. NordVPN is the one that we use, that we've been using for years, and then they got on board with the show long after that fact. A big thing you can do with it is avoid price discrimination, so you can find the same product at different prices in different regions, because often they'll price it depending on where they think you are, and so how much money they think you have to spend. So you can find yourself better deals there. You can book flights sometimes from destinations, so if you need it departing from somewhere that's different to where you are. Sometimes various airlines won't let you do that. You can get foreign e-stores access to those, foreign apps and online auctions for more access to items. And if you have one NordVPN account, it protects up to 10 devices. So it protects your data from people who might be maliciously trying to get it, and it also shifts you around the world to where you need to be, and you can install it on your laptop and your phone and your mum's phone and the big screen in your car that's about to become self-aware and possibly go on a murderous rampage. And wherever else you want to install it, you can install it up to 10 times.
I had a video cut for me the other day, thanks to NordVPN, always doing the work on that front. Have you ever watched the TV show The Traders, Jeff? Is this in your...
No.
It's the biggest show on telly. Like, it's the biggest reality show over here. It only runs for like 3 weeks each year, and it's like the appointment viewing kind of thing.
Right.
Well, appointment viewing in our household on Saturday night, by the way. Season 2 of Gladiators began the other night. The UK Gladiators came back.
What's that your plan?
It's Winnie's favourite show, because she's watched all of season 1 on the iPlayer, and now it's Peggy's favourite show as well. So Peggy goes, 3, 2, 1. She tries to blow the whistle like the referee, like John Alexander. And Winnie is obsessed with the gladiator Dynamite and wants to meet her, and now I've got to find a fucking way for her to meet Dynamite at a shopping centre visit or something like that. But anyway, appointment viewing, Traders. I'm going to have to find a way to watch the finale of that series in Gaul next week, because there's no way that there'll be a free-to-air provider in Sri Lanka showing it. So that'll be seen through my NordVPN. I'll get to see... I've got a theory about Traders. Like, why do they get so upset when one of the faithfuls gets knocked off? They shouldn't.
Don't know what that means.
Because it means, I'm just going to say it. Our UK listeners...
Is the word you're saying, is it traders or traitors?
Traitor, sorry.
Traitor. Okay, right. Traders.
Yeah, so,
okay, trade.
Yeah, it's not
like, if it was tradies, it'd be like, oh, yeah, we can probably fix it, but it'd probably take about 6 weeks.
No, this is like, I've got a theory that they get so worked up on the show in the gameplay about the faithfuls being knocked off or murdered. They're like, oh, we've lost another faithful on our team. But surely if you're a faithful, you know that if one of them get knocked off at this stage of the show, the traders are just going to recruit another trader. So it doesn't affect your chances of winning the money. If anything, it bolsters your case of winning the money, so long as you're one of the faithfuls who remain. If you're a Traders fan, tell me why I'm wrong. And tell me why that they've got it right. But I think that's a loophole in the game. Anyway, I'll be watching that thanks to my NordVPN.
Okay. There you go. NordVPN.com/TFW. That's where you get the discount, money back guarantee, all the rest of it. Sort yourself out. The Australia A squad for the unofficial test, as they call it, also known as a first-class match with the Lions, and not Brisbane, England, at the prison in Sydney, end of the month. Fergus O'Neill in the squad, which is interesting. So they've gone a few all-rounders. Aaron Hardy's there. Will Sutherland's there. They've got Jack Edwards, Jaden Goodwin, Ryan Philippi, Cruel Intentions, a.k.a. Josh. Tim Ward, who was a Bradman Young Player of the Year at one point, another Tasmanian from New South Wales, of which it seems to be most of them, made a couple of first-class tons. And perhaps most excitingly of all, the Phantom, the Ghost Who Walks, KP the second, the new Andy Gantome, Kurtis Patterson is back in an Australia A squad. It's on. It's back on. The dream is back on.
At the prison, no less.
Yes,
something about second coming.
He's going to get helicoptered out, being dropped by New South Wales, and he's going to land that helicopter back in the test team to take his average back under 112 and restore Andy Gantome to the top of the rankings.
He's going to do the open mic night with Urthboy out there at the prison. I've got no one else to turn to, and I really don't want to burn you, but you're all I have. Will you set me free? In fact, we should definitely engineer that. If you're listening, right, Tim, Urthboy, please can you form a relationship?
Go to Silverwater
and do a performance of him, long loud hours on the ground after night one of the unofficial test match. That's all right. Not asking for much.
He's coming back. Imagine he comes back, gets picked again, makes like 86 not out, and then like does a knee or something, and then just ends up with the test average like 200 and something. And yeah, it could happen. Don't rule it out.
Full knee Rico. No, it's a great, jokes aside, it is a great story. This is the dude who was dropped out of the New South Wales team last year, who had lost the captaincy in that process, who was this sort of hard luck story of Australian cricket. He easily could have faded from view and been one of those rarities and oddities that we spoke about in 10 years' time as like, where are they now? But instead, he's, I guess, one step away from playing Test cricket again, because this really is an Australia A team. This isn't a development squad or some of the Aussie A teams. This is like kind of inching towards a second 11. Not quite, but inching towards that with some of the players you listed. Thrilled to see Fergus O'Neill there after his little weird thing with running on the pitch in the Gades game the other night.
And Will Sutherland, they both got done.
Will Sutherland did as well.
Yeah, they both got banned. So Annabelle Sutherland got banned from the attack for bowling 2 beamers in the women's game at the end of the abortive run chase when Amy Jones shat the bed in the most incredible way. Yeah. Still, the longer it gets away from that, the more I can't believe that it happened. It's not just the not running on the last ball of the over at the end. I think it was the 45th, 6th, 7th. Thereabouts overs. She faced 3 balls in that time and gave up the strike at the start of an over, like to the number 11. Just like totally perplexing. I was confused on the day, but a week later I'm even more confused. But then so she gets dragged, and then Will Sutherland gets dragged for running on the pitch down the middle.
Like Amy Jones a lot, love her wicket keeping. Wasn't at all surprised. That didn't surprise me when that happened. I saw it like, yep.
She just seems to not pay attention at all.
No, I don't think it's that. There's a confidence thing. And it was visible when she was captain of the team that played against India at home in 2022. Sorry to go back to the women's Ashes again, but here we are. When she was leading that team, she was all over the place with her sums and fielders inside the circle, outside the circle. It just I think to me, she's the fewer things that she needs to compute, the more straightforward it's kept, and then trying to manage a run chase. Anyway, that was that. But like other players in this Aussie A squad, Brendan Doggett, great selection. Played well for Aussie A against India A. I think it was called India A.
Yes.
Before the Border Gavaskar. Only right that he keeps his spot, if that makes sense. Aaron Hardy, he's going to play Test cricket. Get him playing these games. This should be a priority. This should be where they get their chance. Roland Roccacelli, Corey Roccacelli. I mean, he is he's one of the more gifted cricketers in Australia. If you could pick 3 spinners in a team or 2 spinners in a team routinely, he would get his chance in Australia. It's him versus Murphy who replaces Lyon long term. And that's great competitive tension. He's got to play in these games. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm glad they're not doing that thing where sometimes they pick on spec and they go, well, let's fill the team with 21-year-olds. Yeah, there's some younger blokes there as well. Jaden Goodwin, who started the Shield season so impressively. He's got that pedigree with his old man Murray. And Tim Ward, who we talked about as recently as a few weeks ago, making those runs in the Sheffield Shield. And Will Sutherland, who's got the leadership credentials as well. So they're covering a lot of bases, and missing in all of that, Xavier Bartlett even, the other X-Man, who I'm not Xavier Doherty.
That would be a surprise if
a shock selection, shock call up at age 42 or whatever he is now. No, he's my age, I think, age 40. But Xavier Bartlett, who
the bloke who was out bowled by me in New Zealand.
Yeah. Xavier Bartlett, who had an international start to his career earlier this year, a couple of injuries in the mixer and so on, but gets his chance here. So this is the way it should be, and there should be. Last point on this: more of it, more Australia A games. Mohammad Siraj took 70 wickets for India A before he played a Test match. They were all first-class games. This is going to lead into my next rant, by the way. All first-class games. Siraj was battle-hardened around the world, playing for India A, and those matches did contribute to him being ready to roll at the first time of asking at the MCG in 2020, and 2 matches later, he's famously leading that Indian attack to a Test victory. So where I get pissed off, the aforementioned Lions who are playing the unofficial Test, at the moment they're playing against a CA11, right? And they're not first-class games. 13 blokes getting rotated through the games. I mean, this is what did Ben Compton out of 1,000 runs before the end of May a couple of years ago when the New Zealand team played 13 against the County Select 11. And I mean, not that matters, but I hate this idea of this otherwise serious cricket with serious cricketers playing in games that are fought out over 3 or 4 days where it means so much for them, but the numbers just don't matter. The tension of having first-class status. Darren Lehman was big on this when he became coach. He's like, no more of these 14-aside things. We want them to be first-class games so they actually mean more to the cricketers who are out there. And there's no reason why they can't send more teams around the world. Send an Australia A team to, countries where Australia haven't been historically good tourists. Send them to Bangladesh. Send them to Zimbabwe. Where did Shane Warne first wear an Australian cap for what was then called Australia B? It was in Zimbabwe back in 1991. Stuff like that where they can get creative with this next generation coming through and can get them better prepared to play Test cricket. It used to be a thing. It's not much of a thing anymore. I'm glad they're playing the Lions, but I'm pissed off it's not first class.
Yeah, and like maybe those performances have a bit to do with who's in that Aus A. So, Jaden Goodwin was playing, Tim Ward made a ton in that CAXI game. Cameron Gannon bobbed up with 5 wickets, which was interesting. His name, it just seems to have been around forever, Cameron Gannon. Feels like he's been playing for my entire life. But if you're going to go to the trouble of putting the match on, what is the value that you get from squeezing in 2 other players to have a hit or to have a bowl, is that worth more than the value that the other 11 players would get out of it if that first-class ton counts? Because that Tim Ward one, like I said, he's got 2 first-class hundreds, but he would have 3 first-class hundreds if they weren't playing ducks and drakes with these things matter to individual players. And you can say, it's ego and whatever, but players get picked on the basis of how many hundreds they've made and how many runs they've made. Those things are used as sticks to beat certain players with. Hasn't made a first-class 100 since ... And so if you take those achievements out of somebody's CV, you're materially affecting how they're perceived as a player, both by the public and to some degree by selectors, even if they're supposed to know more and know better and have more nuance. Those numbers still can influence them.
I meant to say this in my rant before, but how about Lachlan Hearn, right? He's only played 7 first-class games. You wouldn't say he's reached the point where he's on the cusp, but 7 first-class games by the age of 24 probably means the likelihood of you having a long first-class career isn't great. He gets picked for this CAXI team and rattles off 163 balls in a low-scoring game. That's Maxwellian, striking at 168 when wickets were tumbling around him. They were all out for 176. It's a near Bannerman. Might even be a Bannerman, 106 out of 176. You did the math while I'm talking, Jeff. But that does not become a first-class 100. That should be a landmark moment for him, and instead it's not to be. For what it's worth, CAXI did win that game by 7 wickets. They chased 261, 3 down after 3 lower innings on the way through, all around 200 or thereabouts. The captain, Alex Davies, made a half century, one to watch. I've got a feeling he might find himself playing for England sooner rather than later. Cam Gannon, who, as you mentioned before, has been a bit of a journeyman. He took wickets and made runs in the Shield final last year, got his chance, took a fifer. The aforementioned century for Lachlan Hearn. 4 for 15 for Sam Cook, opening the bowling for the England Lions. Change is going to come. Sam Cook, that's an interesting one too about, there was all that chat about will he have the type of game that can do it with a Kookaburra ball in Australia. Well, there's some evidence that supports his case on that front. Ben McKinney, who's a young opener, made 94 in the second dig for the Lions, but they were all out for 213. And then the aforementioned 261 chase with Tim Ward getting 115, retired, hurt. Not sure what was wrong with him, but broke the back of it. And Peter Hanscom, who was leading that team after missing out on Test selection, made 57. So they've got one more of those CAXI games. And by the way, Will Basisto, you name dropped before, made some crazy club 100 the other week. He made, I think he put on like 200 for the first wicket in like 12 overs in a T20 game. Ship him in. Ship him, Will Basisto.
It's got to happen. Persistence. The campaign is we will not give up. We will remain persistent.
Ship him in.
Peter Hanscom has
been selected to play for the Melbourne Stars, right?
Yep. CAXI need a captain.
Just to be clear,
CAXI need a steady hand.
CAXI need a captain. Get him in. Ship him in.
Who knows more about captaining the CAXI than
don't know where they're
will
playing.
be. Mm-hmm.
Don't know where they're playing. Don't know what the format of the game is. I'm pretty sure it's a 3-day game starting this week. Get him in.
Don't care. They could be playing a 7-day game. They could be playing a 7-over game. Will Basisto should be there. If it's in Nepal, even better. Take them to Nepal. Take them all to Nepal.
Jeff, let's change gears. India, rooting ban.
Is that the interpretation? Is that the interpretation?
Why not? So it's not that. It's just the shorthanded way of explaining it. As Virat did on the project the other night, he went on and explained when there was a sports scientist went into the Indian camp like 15 years ago and urged them to do more shagging the night before games. And Virat's point was they're going the other way by only allowing the wives and partners to be there and the families to be there for 14 days per tour. So
it's been heavily debunked, by the way. That was like a big football thing. It'd be like Italian football in the 90s or whatever it was, and it'd be like, no, don't have sex during a tournament because you're gonna build up all your testosterone and just end up kind of suffocating on your own buildup of semen somehow. But apparently it works the other way. If you're engaged, if you're on the job more, then your hormonal system's more productive. So yeah, actually you should be encouraging it.
Okay, well, this goes to what's being described as a unity plan, a 10-point plan, the 10 commandments of the BCCI wrote Peter Lawler, which I quite enjoyed during the week. So, it's to do with them playing more domestic cricket. The main takeaway was fewer family days. And again, going back to what Lawler wrote on Cricket et al. Is like, and it does to an extent go back to what we were talking about at the start of the show. When there's a problem, who's to blame? Not the players in this instance.
Women.
It's the family. They somehow end up in the firing line here in spending less time with their kids and their partners. Right. When what's the problem? Women's the problem.
Women.
So I mean, you heard Rohit Sharma and Ajit Agurkar. They were on the hot mic, the old Peter Dutton, Tony Abbott hot mic, before their press conference announcing their Champions Trophy squad. And the quote from Rohit that was taken down and translated back through was, "I have to sit down with the secretary to discuss the family travel guidelines. Everyone is asking me." So clearly the players are pissed off about this. The idea of having to spend more than a month away from your family to just have 14 with it, it's out of step with modern standards. I know that different teams have different plans, but this feels totally reflexive. And I get the other bits of it, but this is clearly the headline.
So, yes, if you read the fine print, I think it's less of a family ban, like they're saying max of 2 weeks, but it's not max of 2 weeks all up. It's max of 2 weeks that the BCCI will pay for. So your family can stay longer if you're willing to foot the bill. So a fair bit of this is about getting players to pay for things when they want extra stuff, when they want because it seems relatively pointed against certain players who are doing things their own way. So they're saying everyone has to travel on the team bus. Everyone has to travel on the same flight. You're not allowed to bring personal staff because apparently players were bringing like their own chefs and their own nannies and their own massage therapists and having retinues of lots and lots of people. And they were traveling on private planes instead of traveling with the team, and they were leaving practice early in their Lamborghinis or whatever it is. So none of that. You have to. So everybody has to be at the full duration of every training session until the end and go back on the bus together. You're not allowed to leave early. You're only allowed 150 kilograms of luggage per player per trip, which I don't know how they're going to get by. That includes the kit bags, which would be heavy, but still. So staff get 80 kilograms, players get 150.
Can't they do what normal people do when they go on tour? It's like you put your cricket kit in and you stuff in as much as you can to the top of your kit. Yeah. That's how we all travel. 23 kilos into a cricket bag. Come on, get fair income.
Can't they just imagine like Virat Kohli just stuffing cricket bats under his jumper before he gets weighed at the Jetstar counter?
He's got 5 cricket jumpers on, which he's going to take off when he gets into the cabin.
Into the cabin. So there's all of that, and this one seemed very pointed at Ashwin. You can't leave a tour early. You can't leave a test early either. So if you lose on the third day, everyone still flies out on day 6. No one's allowed to cut out and go home early, and you've got to stay for the whole duration of a tour. So all of this kind of stuff. But yeah, the family part seems the bit that's likely to create the most discord.
All right, I might do an about face here. The truth is, I didn't read this story properly. I was willing to take the superficial tabloid angle at the start about rooting ban. I realise now that everything you've rattled through there seems quite reasonable. So fair play, crack on. I didn't realise it was 14 days paid. That's actually what happens in the Aussie squad. Just by way of comparison, the Aussie squad is that they've got their family window on tour, which is usually a couple of weeks, which CA pay for. And outside a family window, it's going to be, by the sounds of things, the same as what it is here, where you've got to pay for the balance of the trip if you wish to have them there. So, yes, I apologise for what I said earlier. That's clearly not correct, and Jeff's explained it very fairly. And they can wear 4 cricket jumpers on the plane if they need to.
If they need to. I mean, you can't really ban someone from seeing their wife, like as an employer. You can't be like, I'm sorry, you're only allowed to spend out of the next 6 weeks to 2 weeks with your wife. If she wants to travel to the country that you're in and be there, I don't think you can't like Liam Neeson her if you're Cricket Australia and end up having, Marnus Labuschagne trying to hunt you down and execute your henchmen. There's what was the
what was that thing during the I'm sure our colleague Tubes will remember this, and I'll get this wrong, but he doesn't need to tell me if I get it wrong because it's like the rugby league, so I don't need to know. But there was a state of origin bit during COVID where one of the blokes, I don't know which one, said that they couldn't possibly lock them all up in a hotel because boys just need to do what they need to do, need to get the girls in. You can't lock us up in a hotel before Origin. Because, boys have got to do what boys have got to do.
Paul Gallen, apparently.
Paul Gallen was it? Yeah, it sounds about right.
It sounds like a Paul Gallen.
Right, yeah. You guys would know better than I would. But, that's reminiscent of that. You got to let the boys do what the boys have got to do kind of vibes around that.
Paul, you're in a very comfortable hotel room. Like, a bit of shower gel goes a long way. I'm just saying.
It was I can see in the chat here. Tubes is watching on us record today. He goes, it was Paul Gallen, and it was the NRL in general. So that must have been the COVID window, not the Origin window. But you know what I'm trying to say. There are parallels between what you're describing there and what they were before. NRL Island, sadly, never happened.
Sadly, and it is still a dream. It would be, I suppose, in a way you could say Australia is NRL Island. For the rest of the world, they successfully isolated the NRL on an island, and that is where we are. Only on the one island. It's not on Tasmania. They managed to steer clear for almost entirely. They've managed to eradicate it for the most part. But yeah, we are NRL Island over here.
I mentioned before that India have announced their Champions Trophy squad. There's a bit here. Jasprit Bumrah, Hottogo, Bumrah's back, hot to go after having a combination of shaggers back and problem with his leg in Sydney. So Bumrah's there. Speaking of Bumrah, how about Chris Martin pulling the oldest trick in the book? At the Coldplay concert in Mumbai the other day. Is there any city where Chris Martin doesn't, and like every rock star, by the way, doesn't just cite a local hero to get the audience on side? Well, Chris Martin made reference to Jasprit Bumrah on stage in Mumbai, and everyone's like, wow, this is the most amazing thing ever. Like, he'll be doing it at, in Green Bay when they're playing there in 6 months' time. He'll be talking about Brett Favre, I'm sure, you know what I mean? Like, this is just a... he'll be playing the gig at the MCG in front of 90,000 people.
Is he going to customise it? This is what I want to know. But within India, when he plays Hyderabad, does he go, how about VVS Lakshman? When he...
There's a social media clip, Jeff. There's a social media clip for this show. Take note, Pato. That was going on. So Bumrah's back. Siraj out.
Siraj is not back.
Hot Bumrah on the cold list in the in the lads mag, so to speak. Hot Bumrah, cold Siraj, replaced by Ashdeep. Well, not replaced, but Ashdeep's got the final bowling spot. Mohammad Shami is back. So having been bowling in India during the Border Gavaskar, they never called upon him, but he's returning. And Kuldeep Yadav, who would have been bloody useful during the Border Gavaskar as a spin option.
Wouldn't he?
A wrist spinner there, given he's been in career best form with the white ball in the last couple of years. He is back as well. Shubman Gill's the vice-captain. Rohit Sharma, of course, is the captain. Why wouldn't he be? His troubles in Test cricket haven't really translated to white ball stuff, so he's there as well. Oh, and Yashasvi Jaiswal has never played a one-dayer, so he's there. And that will be a formidable Indian squad, and added to the fact that they won't play games in Pakistan, will they? So this absurd situation where if they make the final against Pakistan, let's give that scenario here. They make the final against Pakistan in this tournament. It will be a quasi home fixture for them at Sports City. Which kind of goes to everything that's wrong with world cricket, but also a compromise that was agreed to by both parties and took a long time to get to. But still, now we're getting to the business end and this tournament's actually happening. The structural advantage that India enjoy here means that they will surely win the whole thing.
Keep your eyes open for a bargain. And you'll have teams who won't know, other teams in the semis who once again won't know where they're playing, like it was in the T20 World Cup with the Guyana fixture, that whoever qualified in the spot that meant they had to play India ended up there. Rather, it didn't matter where you finished in your own group. They're playing some white ball stuff against England ahead of that. So they've got 5 T20s. Why not just tune up for the Champions Trophy with 5 T20s before they play 3 ODIs?
Why are they doing this?
Why not at least 3 and 5 the other way?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, why are they even bothering playing? I don't know, mate. What can you say?
Cash
we know why they're doing it, but why are England agreeing to this? Like, surely England should be like, no, we'll play 8 games against you, but we'll flip it. We'll play 5 one-days because, we're about to play a global knockout tournament in that format in a couple of weeks' time.
That would be handier for us to give our players some time to play that game. But no, that's not what's happening. The important thing is bilateral T20s en masse.
And first-class cricket. Going back to the 10 Commandments at the BCCI about playing more domestic cricket, how's that Virat Kohli story? That's an absolute corker. So on the 30th of January, Virat Kohli is slated to play in the Ranji Trophy for Delhi against Railways. It'll be his 24th Ranji Trophy game. And
I hope they do that in the stands. I hope that's what the Railways freaks do when someone's coming in to bowl. Railways.
Yeah. The time-honoured rivalry between Delhi and Railways. They probably do.
There's a Pakistan Railways team and an India Railways team.
And
they should play each other in Dubai. Get them to play each other in Dubai. If anyone's going to be playing in Dubai, it's the double railways. You call it the head-on collision. You find the name of some historical head-on train crash, and it'll be incredible. You'd have locomotive freaks from all over the world coming to see it. You'd have that bloke in England who has the weird voice and takes the GoPro videos with the camera on his head, jumping on trains. Rupert Saint-Pierre Crumpet or whatever his name is, Sebastian Thingamajiggy. Got one of those names.
They'd get Ronnie Biggs out for it, I'd imagine. What's Ronnie Biggs up to?
Yeah, well, not much these days. Keep him pretty still. Yeah, Ronnie's
dead. Okay. No, well, they could. When I got him out of Brazil, get Ronnie Biggs out to Dubai Sports City to watch the Railways versus Railways clash.
He's also mentioned in an Urthboy song, by the way, if we're tracking that. What do you say? I remain Ronnie Biggs, always on the run. Haven't seen a something since the Rabbitohs won. I think it's the same song that has the Laxman and Dravid reference in it. We've got Silverwater Prison, The Chopper Escape, Laxman, Dravid, and Ronnie Biggs, all in Urthboy songs and all coming up on the show today.
Episode title, Jeff.
That's a long episode title.
We've got the social media clip resolved already. We know what the social media clip is. Now we know the episode title. Hey, so 2nd of November 2012 was the last time that Virat Kohli played in the Ranji. That was against Uttar Pradesh. Now,
the last time.
I couldn't help but go through this. Kohli got a couple of starts. No biggie. No big deal about his game in particular. Okay. His captain was Virender Sehwag, number 1 member of the final word shit list. He was opening. Sehwag was opening with Gautam Gambhir, who's now the Indian coach, and probably on the final word shit list if we cared to add him to it. Ishant Sharma and Ashish Nehra were opening the bowling, which is a whole full generation ago. Suresh Raina was the opposition skipper. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, be still my beating heart, got Kohli in both innings. Love these balls.
With
love
one of these brand new luscious outswinger.
Big fat Duke seam I'm showing to the camera here. Bhuvi would have loved that. So all up, it'll be 4,472 games for between starts for Kohli. Do that again. 4,472 days between games in the Ranji Trophy. So 2012, afterglow of the London Olympics, the iPhone 5 was just released. Nathan Lyon had 78 test wickets, got a few more since then. It was the week of Barack Obama's re-elect. We started the show talking US politics. There's a reference point for you.
Okay.
It was also the week, in cricket terms, if Ed Cowan's won outstanding Test century at the Gabba against South Africa, which in turn means it was also the same week as the Quiney Nine, because that happened in the same innings as the Cowan's century was the Quiney Nine.
Just as good, honestly. Just as good. Put them side by side, those two innings.
And Ricky was in the Aussie team, because think about it, because Ponting retires a fortnight after. So you got to go all the way back to when Ricky Ponting was a Test cricketer to the last time that Virat Kohli played in the Ranji Trophy, and Ponting, of course, 1050 just before Christmas. So that gives you some understanding of just how long it's been. And I don't know whether it's because of the 10 Commandments from the BCCI or something else that Kohli will be there, but cannot wait to see him on a live stream playing in the Ranji in a couple of weeks. Virat Kohli.
What odds that he gets a sore adductor or something the day before and, doesn't quite make it to the finish line. Might be another administration before he ends up playing another when fucking Marco Rubio's running in 4 years' time. 95-0. The 95-0, the Secretary of State nomination vote in the Senate.
Little Marco Rubio, 95-0.
Little Marco, 95-0. So, Democrats really doing their job there, really sticking it to the man. Now, National Inclusion Championships. Yeah, I want to go there next. That's where I want to go.
Okay, why don't we knock this off quickly and then go to a break, Jeff? We've got time to talk briefly about the National Inclusion Championships, which are they started a couple of days ago. Now, these are a great thing. They've been going since 2017. There are 22 teams involved, 5 divisions, blind and low vision mixed, blind and low vision women's, cricketers with an intellectual disability, and deaf and hard of hearing men and deaf and hard of hearing women. So this is all great stuff, which we fully support. And truth told, we should do more coverage of this. And I'm glad that disability cricket's getting more coverage, and the National Inclusivity Championships are clearly a big part of this. But what doing with the physical disability team or lack thereof? This is getting silly, isn't it? I mean, PD is a huge part of what's going on at the moment in England, where at the very end of the Champions Trophy right now in Sri Lanka, where there are heaps of teams playing. India are playing England in the final of that tomorrow. Will Flynn, who's been on the final word with me before, he's playing for England. Great bloke, Flinny, and lovely player. And he's in that England team who have the chance to win the Champions Trophy against India. I think that's tomorrow. But why are Australia not represented in the PD category? It feels like an easy piece of low-hanging fruit there at some point for someone to take that and run with it and give these many excellent cricketers around Australia who would meet the criteria a chance to play for their country against teams like England and India around the world. It feels like the logical next step. Yeah,
and not being glib about it, but they were playing first-class matches of amputee first-class matches, particularly over 100 years ago.
Yep.
It's not like it's a new idea. It's probably the first kind of inclusion disability cricket that was considered, that was countenanced, or that was able to be staged. So it does seem absurd, particularly in the modern age of excellent prosthetics and the fact that you can have tailored sporting prostheses for all kinds of different sports, and none of that is new. It's a very strange omission from what I can see.
And we've seen a lot of these cricketers through our work with the Taverners, Jeff. I mean, the criteria, I don't understand it entirely, but there are different levels of criteria to play in the PD team for England. Like, that's been on Sky. The host broadcaster are covering not only the England matches, but the domestic PD games now. So there's a wider investment going on around the game in PD cricket. And I really do hope that that Australia follows suit. And a shout out to my old mate, Lockie McRae, who I used to open the bowling with, who has been captaining the Aussie intellectual disability team. Lovely young man. And he's done a great job with the Australian team in the last few years. Jeff, we'll take a break. And when we return, we've got to go to Multan. What a great place to be. This is the Final Word Cricket Podcast. Adam Collins, Jeff Lemon. We were talking about disability cricket just before the break. A reminder, set it off the top. Register immediately for the Edinburgh Marathon, half marathon. Jeff's going to be there doing the 10K. My wife, Rach, is going to be there. By the way, Jeff, it's Rach's birthday today. Rach, which I should say, given how supportive of what we do she is. And it's a year to the day when she decided to completely change direction in her life at age 40 and go into a whole new world of hypnobirthing, which you may have heard on the daily shows that Cam was doing with Quiney over in New Zealand. So if you're having a baby, get in touch with my wife at This Is Hypnobirthing. Why not? She does a bloody great job. But yes, thank you to Rachel.
Jeremy Coney's had babies and Cameron Ponsonby is a baby. So between the two of them, they had plenty of experience about,
They did.
There was a bit of a kind of grandfatherly relationship vibe in sort of taking Granddad down to the beach, give him an outing.
But yeah, Edinburgh, Rachel will be there, Jeff will be there, I'll be there. We're trying to get like over 50 people. We've done so well with recruitment, but we're not done yet. I had a new person get in touch yesterday. Be that next person. Find us anywhere on the internet. I'll get you on WhatsApp. I'll add you to the group, which is ticking over beautifully. That's all being looked after on Strava and the registration by the Tabs. And ultimately, you can support the Taverners in their 75th year. What better way than completing a half marathon, a marathon, or a 10K with a bunch of terrific people? You're going to have the best time. So even if you've never met us before, this is the time to do that.